Okay, welcome along to A Long and Long Time Ago with me, Adam, and my cousin Martyn. How's it going, Martyn?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Adam. Really good. Had a busy day.
Busy day, yeah. Today was the release day of Mandalorian Season 3. So this was the first episode. But just before we get into that, I'm just going to say that I personally have just finished a little rewatch of it. I timed it quite well, actually. I stuck series 1 on back in January, I think it was, when you were down, I think.
Yeah,
we
that's
started
right.
watching it again, didn't we?
We did, yeah. It was really cool, yeah.
Yeah, so we watched a few episodes when you were down, and then I carried it on. I thought, oh, if I carry on at the sort of rate I'm going, I might be able to finish series 2 in time. And I did. I finished it yesterday, and episode 1 of series 3 was released today. So it went pretty well. But in terms of what what I'm trying to expect of series 3, that, I don't know, do you want to sort of talk about your sort of expectations for it a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think we're both in agreement that season 1 and season 2 were pretty spectacular. Even the weaker of the episodes were really, really good.
Yeah.
It wasn't there wasn't really a weak link, I didn't personally think,
No.
in the first 2 seasons at all. So, and I think since we've had the season 1 and 2, and obviously a bit of Book of Boba Fett, where Mandalorian and Grogu come back into it.
See, I didn't watch those 2 episodes, but we'll get into that in a minute, because there's a couple of things I want to say about that. But carry on.
No, I think the plot has thickened. So I think for season 3, without going into the first episode yet, I was and am expecting season 3 to start tying up some of these plot threads that we've got going everywhere.
Yeah. See, that's quite interesting, because I don't know whether I tend to watch, if I'm watching something for a second, third, fourth time, whatever it is. I don't know how many times I've watched The Mandalorian now. I don't think I give it my full attention after the first time of watching it. So I was thinking most things were pretty much tied up by now, apart from obviously what they get into in the first episode of series 3 towards the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I was thinking, I don't actually really have an idea of where they're going to take this series.
Oh, really? That's interesting, because I mean, I think we've had massive sort of pushes and hints towards the Darksaber, Mandalore, Bo-Katan. Where's that all going to end up? We've got Grogu's backstory. We've seen flashbacks of him at the temple being rescued.
Yeah.
We've got absolutely loads of these plot threads that have been looked at.
Really, that's
hinted at.
That's where you're thinking it's going to go. Then that's direction.
I think so.
I think I could get on board with the whole the Darksaber side of things, but in terms of having a antagonist to the whole thing, I don't feel like there is anyone in play at the moment.
I mean, I have ideas, but I don't really. I mean, perhaps if we do a predictions bit at the end of the episode, when we could go into. But I think although Moff Gideon's not in the picture at the moment, I think he's going to play a role at some point.
You think he's going to come back in?
Without doubt.
He'll break from prison.
Yeah, well, break out or let go. The New Republic doesn't seem to be the most. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It isn't particularly well set up at the moment.
Yeah.
Established, and there seems to be a lot of corruption and things like that happening in it. So and we know where that gets to in the sequels. So even 30 years after this, or 25 years after this, they still haven't got their act together. So
so going into episode 1, then they did like a recap, as they always do. I was quite surprised, going back to the whole Boba Fett series chat of the 2 Mandalorian episodes from that. I was quite surprised that they didn't really recap any of that. So anyone who's chosen not to watch Boba Fett series will have just completely missed how Grogu and Mando are back together, and also the fact that he's got a new ship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And yeah,
I thought that was a bit. I thought it was interesting that they would just assume that most people would have watched Boba Fett. I'm sure they're right to assume that, but do you know what I mean?
yeah, no, yes, absolutely. Because there's our sort of Star Wars fans who watch absolutely everything, and then
Yeah.
there's the casual Star Wars fan who's heard, oh, Mandalorian's really good from someone at work, so they've gone and watched it,
Mm.
and then they've not heard anything about Book of Boba Fett, so they wouldn't think to watch it. So I absolutely agree with that, and
Yeah.
I totally thought the same as you when that recap happened. There wasn't any mention of it. So, but I guess they kind of mention it slightly in the episode through dialogue with
Yeah.
Grief Karga at one point.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah. And how they've managed to explain Cara Dune
yes, yeah,
disappearing.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just feel like she's going to be back in it at some point.
Oh,
I
really?
have,
I was
I,
going to say, I personally actually, I feel it's a bit of a shame that she's not in it.
yeah, I totally agree, and I think she was a fantastic character,
Mm.
and I think she's sorely missed. And
Mm.
I don't want to go into the politics of the whole situation, but I don't know why, and I know it's Disney, so my prediction is probably more than likely going to be wrong. But I don't know why, but I just get this feeling that she might come back into it at some point, but I'm probably wrong.
Who knows? I'm not. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think. I think they're going to stick to their guns on this one. I don't think she'll be. I don't
yeah,
think
you're,
she'll be
you're
back.
probably right.
Which, as I say, I think that's
Yeah,
quite a shame because it
yeah.
was a good character.
Yeah. Without
Um,
going, into all of the plot details, what was your overall opinion of the episode?
um, I really liked the beginning.
Yeah,
I thought that was quite cool. Uh, I did have a few issues with the episode. Not so much the dialogue or anything like that, or the story or the plot, if you like. Maybe a little bit with the plot actually, but it's all building to something ongoing. But it was an enjoyable episode. I didn't feel like it gave too much, to be honest.
yeah.
But yeah, what about you?
Well, again, I thought the first 5 minutes was absolutely great. But I genuinely, honestly thought the rest of it was a complete and utter mess.
Huh.
And I've had a look online, and I think I'm in the severe minority because everything I've read online is this is absolutely great, 5 star. Mando's back,
Mm.
just where he left off. And I was just sitting there watching it, and I've got to be honest, I was like, why is he doing that? Why has he gone here? He's only just gone to there. Why doesn't he go straight to Mandalore? Why does he need IG-11? Why can't he just
This
use something else?
this is it.
Um,
That's what I was saying
yeah,
about the
it,
plot point. I'm not really
yeah.
sure the whole
Why?
point of
Yeah.
IG-11 being
Why
back.
did he go to Bo Katan to help speak to Bo Katan? There was not really a particular reason he was going to
No.
go to Mandalore regardless. And
Mm.
and don't get me wrong, as you said, I'm sure all of this is going to be building to something and it will be
Mm.
explained down the line. But it just felt really disorganized is the wrong word, but at one point I thought it
At
was going to
some
fall
points, it
into,
was unnecessary, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it really felt like at one point it was going to turn into the, do you remember in season one everyone sort of said, oh, it was mission of the week, go
Mm.
here,
Yeah.
get object A, and then in the
Yes.
next episode you had object A but you needed object B, and it kind of fell a little bit into that trap, I think. Again, as I said at the beginning, none of those episodes were bad,
Mm.
but it did sort of fall into a bit of a pattern, didn't it? Eventually,
Yeah.
and I felt this
Absolutely.
this did the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the pirate bit,
Yeah.
I was struggling. I enjoyed it, and then I sat and thought about it. I thought, why was that
Why
scene
was it
at
there?
all necessary?
Which is obviously they're setting up a new enemy
Yeah, yeah,
in, I forget his name, Shard, something like that.
yeah. But I mean,
Well, I'm assuming we've never seen him before.
no,
I
we haven't
haven't
seen him
personally.
before, and all I could think of when I was looking at him was thinking of Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and
See, I was thinking of the the obviously a more green version of the Ghost of Christmas Present in the Muppets Christmas
Oh.
Carol. I don't
Well,
know.
know me better, man.
He just, yeah, he had a very sort of like, it was a very Muppety look to
Yeah.
them.
No, I
So
agree.
even all the
Yeah,
pirates, to be honest, I thought,
absolutely.
and that's what I was going to say. Like one of my issues with it was they looked very puppety.
Yeah, I mean they all looked like Star. They were all Star Wars aliens, and they were all
Yeah,
classic aliens as well.
yeah,
But the thing that kind of threw me out of it was, they almost was going "arr,"
mm.
and me hearty,
Too
and
piratey.
yeah, it was just too piratey. And let's take Hondo Anaka for a second. He was a pirate initially when we saw him in the Clone Wars,
Yeah,
and he didn't act like that.
no,
And he's renowned now as one of the like fan favorite characters. And it just didn't click with me.
mm.
And as you say, it's to set up a character. It's the first episode, and I'm certainly not a negative person. I will never be one of those negative YouTubers.
No,
But I must admit, having done what you've done and just watched season 1 and 2, I felt there was a bit of a slip in quality to the episode,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Um,
So going into it, then there was the giant crocodile thing.
yeah, that was a great scene. That was
I really,
fantastic.
yeah, I really liked that.
Yeah,
The fact that the armorer like grabbed the youngling out, and then they had the battle, and it was obviously to set up the fact that Din Djarin was going to come back in and
mm,
destroy him, and I think that was quite predictable, but it
yeah.
wasn't anything
No,
bad
I think we
about
were meant to be fooled into thinking that was a flashback and that was Din Djarin as
it. Mm.
a foundling.
It crossed my mind, but I wasn't. I thought, no, surely they're all going to be, too young. All of the other
Yeah, it was the heavy
Mandalorians that we had
trooper.
seen,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah, he was.
probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, that was a fantastic scene. It was a great little action piece.
Mm.
Nice setup. And again, you, again, honestly, I'm not. People who've watched these before know I'm not a negative person, and I love everything Star Wars. In fact, I'm told I love too much stuff, and I never give it, too
That's
much
the
of a.
wife. That's the
Yeah.
wife, is it?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, even you've sort of commented, that I sometimes, when Obi-Wan came out, I could not see a flaw in it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
No. What are you talking about? It's the greatest show ever. And but with this, it was a great scene, but all it did was really tell us that he was already going to do, go to Mandalore and cleanse himself in
Mm.
the seas of whatever it was, the water under Mandalore or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But we saw that in the previously on. I'm sure that bit was in the
I feel
previously on.
like it was in there. Yeah.
So it
So it's
was,
a
yeah,
recap to the recap.
yeah. And so to your point, it was basically just so that he could fly in with this new ship and
Save the day.
save the day, and
Mm.
it's a bit unnecessary. And when you look back to the season 2 opener, or even the season 1 opener, and you look at what we got there,
Mm.
and you look at this episode, okay, I watched the Bad Batch immediately after I watched the Mandalorian. And do you know what? When the Bad Batch had finished, I was like, wow, that was absolutely awesome. I thought that was a
Okay.
fantastic
I haven't
episode.
watched that yet. So,
Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop you from watching it, and I'm gonna have, because there's 2 episodes of the Clone Wars I know you haven't seen that
okay.
are important to this episode. We
Oh
talked
man.
about them in a top 11 Clone Wars episodes, which is a series, if people are watching, that we're going to be releasing soon. There's 2 episodes that we talked about, and you said you didn't remember them or hadn't seen them. So before you watch that episode, let me tell you what they are so you can check those out.
Okay.
But yeah, Steph, my wife, was sat next to me, and she could see. She said, "Wow, you preferred that a lot more than you did the Mandalorian, didn't you?" And I
Mm.
was like, "Yeah, I mean that felt more in line of what I wanted." And as I say, dare I say, I was a little bit disappointed with the
Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, but do you also think that the expectations have been set so high that you want that bit more from the Mando?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when I go back to season 2 opening episode where he goes back to Tatooine and they fight the Krayt Dragon.
Mm.
I mean, that was an absolutely phenomenal episode, probably one of the best Mandalorian episodes so far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then we got this, and it did just feel a bit like a setup for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's probably
yeah,
really what it was.
and I
So
still can't get my head around why IG-11 is so important for him to.
no, no, I need someone that I trust to go into the mines
Yeah,
of below Mandalore.
yeah,
And so, well, can't you do that yourself? But I
mm.
suppose he wants him as a nanny droid, doesn't he? Because that's what he was. He was protecting
Yeah,
Grogu.
possibly. But he said, he's the only droid I can trust, and then they couldn't get his memory circuits working.
Yeah, so you
So he
can't
said,
trust him.
so now they're going to get brand new memories. So he's not even going to remember the Mandalorian or Grogu when he has
No.
the new memory circuits put in. So actually, he's not going to trust him.
Is
He's
it
just going to
worth?
be, yeah.
Yeah,
And now he's
that
off on
that was
a,
the hole that I was
yeah.
I was picking early on,
Mm.
and the fact that he self-destructed and there was that much of him left
Yeah, and yeah. I don't know, and
makes sense, I suppose, that some bits would be
yeah,
left, but
and now he's off next week. We know next week's episode is probably going to be him looking for the part that he needs.
yeah, yeah,
So
it's no, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit weird at the moment.
yeah,
What's happened to your camera?
I
We've
think my
lost
camera's gone out. Oh, hello.
you. Right. Okay, so what are your expectations for the rest of the series or the next episode even? Just
Well,
a bit of find, like you said, mission B sort of thing, get the next bit.
yeah, I think obviously we're now going down the path of let's try and fix IG-11.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, I think it's going to be. Did he? Where did he end up? He ended up at. No, he didn't end up anywhere, didn't he? He was. I'm trying to think where the last place he was
It
when the
was
episode finishes.
it was that throne with Bo-Katan,
Oh,
whatever
that's
that
right.
place was,
Yeah,
on the outskirts of Mandalorian,
yeah. So
whatever they were saying.
I think we're basically under the impression from that scene that he's literally heading straight off to Mandalore,
Mm.
but he's not. He's going to be
Well, he
heading off
can't
to the
if
next
he's
planet. Yeah.
yeah, he can't if he's needing IG-11, I suppose.
Hmm.
And how much space has he got in his ship?
That's a very good point. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I think next week will be sort of the plot of the mission of the week episode.
Hmm.
But I mean, in terms of expectations, I still, even though I wasn't that hot on this episode, I still think this season has potential to be the best season so far because just thinking of that trailer and some of the things we saw in that trailer that came out,
Yeah, yeah.
there's obviously still going to be a bit of history of Grogu at the Jedi Temple, which I'm really looking forward to, as you well know. I
Mm-hmm.
love anything to do with Order 66. We're gonna see him on Mandalore itself. We're probably going to find out some secrets of Mandalore things we thought we knew, but actually we didn't know.
Yeah.
We're going to find out that perhaps Mandalore isn't as destroyed as everyone thinks
Mm.
it is.
It will be interesting to actually see Mandalore, seeing as we've seen it all in Clone Wars,
Mm.
especially us recently, with us watching a few episodes from there.
Mm.
So it would be interesting to see what it's all like there.
Yeah, so we've got all that, and we've got Dr. Pershing, the guy who does all the
Mm-hmm.
cloning. He appeared in the trailer. So is there's going to be more machinations of cloning technology and Snoke and possibly
Yeah.
Palpatine plots coming in? And as I say, I'm convinced. I'm pretty sure he even said in an interview as well that Moff Gideon's going to be back at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm certain we'll see Boba Fett at some point.
Mm. I
And
think he'll probably need him at some point, won't he?
exactly,
As he
and
often does.
yeah, and I think there's bound, we kind of conditioned now to get the major character
Mm.
turn up at some point that we weren't expecting. So I don't know who it will be. It won't be Luke or anyone like that this time. But I
No,
think
that's the thing you say about this series potentially being better. I think that's the problem is they've gone so high with series two.
mm,
Even going back to the finale of season two when I watched it yesterday, that last scene, I think I probably was more gripped watching it this time around than the previous times.
Yeah.
I had it. I actually likened it to the scene with Vader in Rogue One at the end of Rogue One.
Yeah.
I,
Well, I
I
think you're
thought,
meant to actually
yeah,
sort of put the two together, but
yeah,
yeah, it was such a good scene, and I've mentioned it before. That's one of the only scenes in Star Wars where I was like trying to hold it together because it was one of the happiest moments of my life. I was just absolutely overjoyed, emotional. I was
yeah.
everything. I mean,
Which
thank God Steph didn't record me.
I wish he had. It would have made for some really good YouTube footage.
Yeah,
So, um,
yeah, it was great.
yeah, but going back to that, then how can they even top that this series? I'm not sure that they can.
Well, I mean, it could
It's
be.
pretty intense. It's pretty immense, rather.
I, who I think we're possibly going to find out who saved Grogu, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna do a massive prediction now, and this is going to be
Oh,
completely wrong. I know it's going to be wrong because it's just so out there, but it's something that I personally would love to see. Right, the person that saved Grogu at the temple was a beaten and battered Mace Windu, who rescued Grogu
hmm.
on his last legs after he'd been defeated by Palpatine. Obviously, he'd been thrown out the window and electrocuted, but being a
Yeah.
Jedi, he survived the fall. He managed to get back to the temple and save Grogu. He then left Grogu and went off to do things. He turns up again at some point in this series as quite an old man, so he actually would fit sort
The
of Mace.
timeline, yeah.
He would fit the timelines because Samuel L. Jackson's aged a
Getting on.
bit now, and
That would
it
be
was
pretty big.
it would be big because Boba Fett would see him, and of course, who killed Boba Fett's father?
Yeah. But
Mace Windu chopped his head off. So I think then there could be a
if,
massive sort of
mm,
kick off between the two of them,
yeah.
avenging his father's death. But I guess I say that's a massive, massive
you've you've laid down like the finale of this episode, basically.
this
That
season,
that
yeah.
yeah, this series. That would be good. When you said, "Oh, how who saved Grogu from the temple," I was sort of in my mind. I was thinking, Qui-Gon, no, he's dead. Uh, Mace Windu, no, he's dead. Well, we
Mm.
are led to believe he's dead.
But he's been
Um,
lobbying for years to come back.
I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And but then there's also another option, and in the flashback scenes in season two of when you see Grogu through Grogu's eyes, you see the Jedi being taken out by the clones in Order 66. They're walking past a door. Now the door has these symbols on it, and the symbols on the door are Barriss Offee's
Hmm.
symbols. Now, again, we've been talking about her recently because we've been watching our top 11 Clone Wars episodes, and she's featured in a couple of them. And she, there's a theory out there that perhaps she could have been the one that saved Grogu. But my only thing about that is she's been arrested at this point in the timeline.
Hmm.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
but I mean, it could just be something really innocuous, like a bounty hunter found him and took him away. But I just feel it's got to be a Jedi, really, hasn't
I
it?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
um,
would have thought so.
yeah. But
Or 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 maybe it could be a clone.
yes,
Maybe
it could.
Rex saved him.
Yeah, it could well be.
That would be quite
I'm not
cool.
sure where Rex was at the time. I think Rex was in Ahsoka, wasn't
Oh yeah,
he?
of course he was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't
He
know
had
about
his
Rex, but
chip removed, didn't he?
that's right.
Ahsoka.
But then I
Yeah.
think also another prediction is we're going to see more about this plan because again they've stretched it out too much now. They need to start giving some answers. Is the whole cloning of? I mean, we're assuming it's Palpatine's cloning. I mean, it's got to be really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that we might get a lot more information, and that might be the season finale. We see at the end,
Mm.
the big tanks, and we see Snoke's.
Well,
Um,
this is what I was going to predict. I think I was going to go with Snoke making an appearance
hmm,
at some point.
yeah,
I think it's not as big of a prediction as yours, your mad story that you've just come out with. But yeah, I think that could be possible.
yeah.
I'm going to go with that. Just
Hmm.
Snoke makes an appearance. Andy Serkis returns.
Yeah. But
Not,
then we could also see, there's so many things we could see a Mandalorian civil war with all the factions, and Din Djarin sort of brings the factions together under the Darksaber, or Bo-Katan finally, you know, I don't know how she'd
lays
get the
claim. No,
Darksaber, but I
that's
don't
a
know.
tricky one.
I do think we're going to be concentrating a lot more on Mandalore this season than anything else. So
Mm.
yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to it. And as I say, I don't want the negativity to override for this one episode. There were some fantastic bits. I mean, that space battle in the asteroid field was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Couldn't get better than that.
Yeah.
There were
No,
some
it
great
was
moments,
good.
but my expectations probably were higher than what we got in
I
my
think a lot
eyes.
of people's expectations are going to be pretty high.
Yeah,
As I said, I
yeah,
think it's just the way this series has been, really, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
But we'll
Cool.
see.
Yep.
We will see.
Looking
Right,
forward to it.
that's about it for this week. On next week's show, we're going to do another Talking Star Wars with a guest. So come back for that. In the meantime, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. We'll see you later.
Bye.